Hi everybody, welcome to the live stream that's coming to you from RSAC here in San Francisco, California, 2025. We're having a great time at the conference this year. Kind of feels like we're back to full force, our RSAC that I remember. It's really a pretty amazing stuff. This is the segment we're calling the Analyst Arc, and we're getting three of us together, my two colleagues and myself.
Yep.
Krista Case, who covers data protection, identity management, all kinds of great things, security, right?
Yeah.
And Fernando Montenegro,
Thank you.
who covers cloud security, cyber security.
Yeah, more broadly, yeah.
Many areas. And then I contribute on the kind of software security side.
You are too kind. You are a leading force on the software security
well, you
side.
know, we all are leading forces in our.
Yes.
That's what's good. Is that it's a nice triumvirate.
Yep.
So,
Yes.
good things. So one of the things we want to try to do in our conversation is help folks get a sense of what we're getting a sense of, right? Mm-hmm. So this first segment we're calling the vibe. Like,
Yep.
what's the vibe? What are you picking up today? It may be a continuation of what you saw yesterday. It may be like, oh, you know, I'm kind of sensing a little different thing going on here. You know,
Ladies first.
okay.
Sorry.
You know he's going to call on you. He does the ladies first. So
That is very true. Very, very true. So yesterday, you know, I kind of talked about the need for cyber resiliency. I spent a lot of time a couple of days ago with some of the storage and data protection companies. Yesterday, from my end, was a little bit more on the identity side. You know, Mitch, as you referenced, that's an area that I'm covering. This is sort of my RSA debut on the identity side. So there's been a lot of conversations around kind of the ability to create this platform for identity security, you know, so we're seeing companies start to kind of stitch together privileged access management with identity and access governance, for example, to be able to, you know, escalate and de-escalate privileges in real time as needed, and really kind of have oversight and control over that whole process. Obviously, we have to start thinking, you know, much far beyond human identities. We need to expand on the machine side, and now we have that whole agentic AI.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Time for agentic
Bing, bing,
was-
bing.
I threw the agentic in there as well,
Thank
just
you.
for you, Fernando.
Thank
just
you.
for
I
you.
appreciate it.
And then we have these agents now coming in and kind of mucking up the whole thing, right? Because they kind of bridge the gap almost. They act a little bit like humans, but they have many qualities of machines, including needing to be managed at massive scale.
So you've seen
that's-
momentum around identity of agents themselves and that coming along?
It's a topic, right?
Okay.
I think we're still getting there, but the sense that I'm getting is the vendors are getting questions from customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
About, okay, it's a reality that we are ultimately going to have some of these AI agents playing an important role
Yeah.
in our business processes. And so what are some of the new security implications that are being created as a result, and how do we start thinking about addressing them to get ahead of it?
Fantastic. How about yourself?
We had the chance to go to do
Yes.
some meetings together, so I also learned a little bit about identity. And one of the things on the identity side that I like, that it's interesting, the NHI stuff, the non-humans, it's interesting and ties to software security, because it seems that NHI is kind of riding two waves, right? The first, we were kind of already talking about workload identities and whatnot when we were talking about like service accounts, and then we started the microservices path, right? And now it sort of picks up on the agentic side, so it's really interesting.
Yep.
And Krista knows her stuff, so it was nice to follow her on this. Some of the stuff that I was looking at is we were talking to a lot of vendors, again, security platforms, a little bit more on the security operations side, right? And one of the defining, as we look at the market, like at how people, and we have data on this now, like sorry I can't quote from memory, but we just released some survey data where there is a preponderance of respondents indicating that, yeah, we want to consolidate, we want to reduce the number of vendors, and so on and so forth. And what's somewhat consistent between the vendors that are picking up on that consolidation, one of the things that's really interesting is that many of them have a security operations component to those platforms, right? So one of the things I'm going to be watching is how do other platforms that don't necessarily have a security component, a security operations component to them. Do they build? Do they buy? Right. So that ties. We were talking about the trends. Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to. Yeah.
I was just nodding a lot, and it goes back to the platform conversation that we were having here in this segment yesterday.
Yeah.
And build, buy, or even have extensibility to be able to integrate with, a SIM platform, for example, or XDR.
Yeah. And I like to talk about the dimension that it's not the platform best of breed, it's a platform versus a point product. The other dimension is best of breed versus good enough. There is yet a third dimension we don't often talk about, which is, do we do it ourselves or do we bring in a trusted partner? And I was having a conversation just at breakfast today with someone else, adding a dimension of the where the customer journey is. Right, if you're a smaller organization, you're going to focus more on one type of delivery, one type of capability. Whereas if you're a much larger company, you may have already built some of those capabilities, but now from an economics perspective, sorry for the hands, you are now offloading some of that to a services partner, right? So fascinating conversations. Like, this industry is maturing. It's growing, it's getting better right before our eyes. Sorry, I got excited.
No, hey, absolutely. Something I've kind of been thinking about and I'm starting to see the evolution of is AI in our space and also in other products and technologies is going through this phase of kind of bolt-on, where it's not really part of the product, but it's there, it's a chatbot, it's a whatever, built in. And there it seems where we're kind of entering and getting into that phase of how do we build in more AI into the technology, into the workflows, into whatever it might be, or securing AI. And I don't know that we're here yet, but it's like AI designed for AI or with AI is the next phase. I don't know if you're seeing that yet, but I'm people talking about inklings of it that sound like that, but I think we're still very much of that. Let's really start to get value from AI, not just featureitis, but what does it do for us, which is kind of this built-in phase.
So picking up on that just for a second, I had a conversation with a platform vendor. We were there together, right? And one of the things that they were very clear on is that, look, we've built this platform with machine learning and AI from the ground up, right? And it shows that they have efficiencies in some areas and so on. So yeah, absolutely. When I came here this week, I said that, telling myself that my mission is to discern between basically three types of AI. Somebody has an AI message. They probably fit into one or three buckets, right? Hey, we are just AI washing, right? To your point, it's something marginally tangential to AI. Oh, we are AI this. Fine, there are some of those, right? Then the people who are saying, look, we are here to use AI in our products, or we're here to support how you as a customer, you are using AI, right? And to that extent, I think if I had to say, the one big news I would call out that came out on Monday, right, is when Palo Alto announced the Protect AI position, right? So I would, if I had to pick one deal for the week kind of thing, I think it would probably be that one. But exactly to your point, where does AI fit and what are we doing? And yes.
Another big part is over and over, data, right? Like, kind of, why are we doing all this, right? It's application security, yes, it's XDR, yes, infrastructure, but it's really about data. That's what we're trying to both utilize, contextualize for AI, and also, of course, protect, right? I can't lose that stuff.
Yep, 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, it's your AI models are only as good as the data, right, that they're being trained on to start with. And then the second component is being able to, keep your data secure, throughout your usage of AI. So, last year it was a lot about, okay, if I'm using an AI application, can I potentially access sensitive data that I'm not supposed to have access to? And I think this year it's been, kind of an evolution of that conversation around some of the new attack vectors that AI is creating. So absolutely, I would say data security and privacy at the end of the day is really at the heart of it. I would say another component of the equation is the kind of compliance side of the house, right? So this is all happening so fast that we're still developing best practices and industry standards, and so I think the implication on the tools and processes that are needed for data security and privacy in this world of AI are still, being learned almost in real time. We're almost, building the airplane as we're trying to fly it, so to speak.
Yeah, considering many of us are going in airplanes right now, I'm not sure I like the analogy, but that's
Fair
okay.
enough. Fair enough.
I'll give you another analogy that I thought of this morning, and that was we're at this stage of the CEOs of the world are funding quests. They're funding exploration into the new world of AI, right? Kind of back to the Magellans and back to the, discovering the Americas, where people are putting money, betting money on AI and funding people, teams, boats, ships, weapons, all the things we need, navigation systems, whatever it takes to go. We don't know what it is we're going to discover. We're trying to figure out what to do with AI and what its real benefits could be and will be, but we're funding those things. And then the USMs of the world are the folks on the ships saying, all right, we're headed this way, compass is pointing there. We think we're going to end up in India, but we're not sure. And we'll discover what we discover. And that's kind of the journey that we're on, right? There are things we know we want to be able to use AI for, but there's a lot we're not sure about AI, either how to get there or what we might use it for. So, we all use the airplane analogy while we're flying it. I think that also works as a kind of applicable metaphor for this.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. That being said, let's continue with the discovery analysis, right?
Great.
While we're doing all of this discovery while we're sailing towards unknown waters with AI, right? Those ships that we've built, they also have to protect against pirates. So they also
can't burn down while we're on it.
Yes.
They can't burn down. They have to be protected against pirates.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we have to. As they stop at ports to buy supplies, they have to have the funds to do that, right? So there's a sustainability aspect to that. But what I'm picking up on a lot is the conversation, and you're absolutely right on the use of data, but the data and the AI conversations also give cybersecurity as a whole a phenomenal opportunity to get closer to the business, right? We keep saying,
yes,
how does security tie to the business? Again, sorry for the hands. Data and identity, right? They are the fundamental constructs through which business interfaces with information, right? A marketing manager doesn't care about files on a Google share, or what they care about is, okay, are my marketing plans safe, right? This distinction is interesting because I used to cover, still cover, right? What people call zero trust network access, right? I always thought that the end should be silent. Someone doesn't want to give access to a network. They want to give access to the applications and to the business value that you get from that connectivity, right? So it's AI and data give us this opportunity to, you know what? Let's know how business works. Let's support them better.
Yes, yep. I think they definitely are business conversations, and so it's how do we understand what the business objectives are at the end of the day, and then what tools are needed to facilitate that. So, you bring up an excellent point around kind of identities and data. So it's all about understanding who the user is, what do they need to access, and why, and how do we, again, facilitate that in a seamless way for the user without kind of getting in the way of that productivity. And I know obviously it's very much the same on the developer side of the equation. I was at a lunch for a vendor yesterday, and they gave out these little shift left little keyboard thing, which was very cute. But so it's I would say that's a very big part of the conversation. And another part of the equation is how do we get our arms around all of the different applications that our users are using at the end of the day. I had a conversation yesterday about ChatGPT, for example. How do we really get our arms around how our users are actually using ChatGPT? How do we make sure that we can lock down, what they're sharing, how they're using it in a way that allows them to do their job, but at the same time does not expose our business to more risk?
Let me ask you, so kind of heads up, because I want to end with a question of what do you think we'll be talking about at RSAC 2026? So be thinking about that in the background.
Yeah. Okay.
So give you a little chance to think about that. Let me ask you, do you think AI is getting in the whole focus on AI, is it getting in the way of our security job? Yes, we need to secure AI, but is it defocusing us from core business around security? Is it bringing maybe more attention to security? Is it a help or is it a detractor? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. I think on one hand it is shining light on some of these very pressing security problems. I would say it's also giving us new tools to get the job done. So it's definitely a double-edged sword. But I think at the end of the day, it does have the potential to be a net positive. But it's all about how do we think about using AI to do our jobs more effectively. So for the Security Operations Center, we had a conversation yesterday around how do we use it to almost upskill our security analysts, for example, and allow a more junior security analyst to perform on a more senior level. So that's all kind of net positive, but obviously it does create a lot of noise and certainly introduce more risks.
Great.
Yeah.
On a more whimsical note, I think I'm not sure if I mentioned this yesterday. I'm Brazilian Canadian. AI is I in Portuguese, right? I is the sound you make when you get hurt.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So I've been dying to write a report. It's like I, right, as it relates to security. But to answer your question, jokes aside, I think I lean more towards the positive side, because I've been around, like we've all been around for a while. Like one of the most fascinating areas I worked in was anti-fraud, right? And we have been using machine learning in anti-fraud since the early 2000s, if not earlier, right? So when we pick up our phones and we figure out, okay, image recognition or what, that is AI, like being used for good, or being useful in a very specific context. I guess that the challenge that we have a major challenge right now, which is, on one hand, we have to help our senior business leaders understand enough AI to understand where AI fits and where it doesn't. I am absolutely okay having more narrow workflows where we can use AI to enhance the reasoning that we're doing there and so forth. I am not okay giving an AI-enabled technology a very complex problem that humans are much better suited. I forget, someone mentioned, I am not going to remember the expression they used, but someone mentioned on stage the unrelenting creativity of humans.
Yes.
With the scale and they said precision of AI, right? I don't like. I think that the precision aspect is something we can debate, but but I love the expression, right? Because yes, that's what we're trying to do. Let's find the right problems where an analyst, whether they are more junior or more senior, can deploy their creativity and their insights that are difficult to code with the automated workflows. I think a lot about security operations, the enrichment, the triage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Right? Yes, we can. So I lean very positive, with caveats. We need to understand what we're stepping into.
I would both very, very insightful. I always lean on the, even when it's not a pleasant experience, or sometimes it is a pleasant experience, the disruption happens. The good thing about it is that it changes the game, all right? And that's what's happened with AI, is it brings the security topic back up, maybe elevates it, maybe pushes it in another dimension, but it doesn't have to leave everything else behind too, right? So what this future, it helps us create the future in a more proactive and engaged way, versus staying on the treadmill of, defending against the latest thing and better response this and all the fundamental things we still need to do. So I think it's potentially a game changer just because of the engagement that it brings to us.
Fair point.
And
Fair point.
Frankly, probably like you, it keeps me engaged. I mean, I love this stuff. I love change, and when it happens, even when I'm perplexed by it and feel like I don't get it yet, I'm going for it.
Is the word perplexed a pun on perplexity? Or?
Yeah, well, I like that. So let's go to what are we going to be talking about at RSAC 2026? I'll throw out this to start with. One of the things I hope that we're talking about is we've cracked the code on generating secure software. We see products, technologies, LLMs, agents, workflows that are about not just creating more faster, but more secure, higher quality around software. Because I'm fearful that if we don't, that mountain gets bigger and bigger every second somebody touches cursor and whatever other vibe coding and coding at GitHub agents, etc. So we've got to address that. And I think the next 6 months is the opportunity for a few companies to step up and really make a real statement and plant the flag in the ground about we're solving the security problem with code. And we could make some monumental changes, and I hope that's what our conversation, I'm going to predict that's what our part of our conversation is about.
What do you think the missing link is, or the missing pieces there that we should be looking out for?
I think we're hoping AI solves it for us.
Yeah.
And we're sort of living in the land of, happy years that we'd like AI to solve it for us, but we're discovering pretty fast it won't on its own, right? And just to pick one example, Salt Security came out with a MCP security product, right? How do we protect what's happening and how MCP is used for? Small, tiny example of something. Great, good. That's exactly what we need to be doing, right? We need to be doing the same thing on code, right? Because the more we expand, not just the volume, but who is all creating code, more people can be creating code that don't know security, just as we do today, but even greater. So in a way we have to, or else it becomes its own house of cards at some point, and we can secure nothing because, I don't think we'll get to that tipping point. But
yeah. So for me, I think one thing we haven't necessarily touched on today, but I do think it's going to be very prevalent, certainly over the next year, is just the explosion of the potential attack surface. So obviously we've talked a lot about AI, and that's only accelerating, the pace at which the threat surface is expanding. We have, customers are using more and more SaaS applications, potentially hundreds that are kind of hosted in the cloud. And so how do we do things like, really instill contextual just-in-time, access to these resources, and how do we at the same time shift to kind of a more preventative, kind of stance with our infrastructure, for example, on the data protection and recovery side. So I think those are a couple of things that I'm thinking we're going to continue to hear more about over the next year. In addition to circling back around to the AI side of things, I really hope we have conversations at RSAC conference next year.
Good one, good one, good one.
Good. I'm not
yes.
used to it.
I am trainable. Some really kind of concrete use cases around where is AI making an impact and a difference? What are maybe some of the potential pitfalls that we've fallen into? And really kind of move the needle forward in a very concrete, material way. So those are some of the things that I'll be looking out for.
All right.
I'm racking my brain here, trying to remember. I think it was a Bill Gates quote, may have been Bill Gates or not, about how slowly things move in the short term, but how much it changes in over the longer term.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I don't remember the quote, but I'm thinking about that. I think that RSAC conference, right? See, I got it. 2026. I think that we're not going to be seeing too much of a difference from what we've been discussing now, if for nothing else, because as we all know, enterprise buyers, they have lots of hoops to jump through, right? So any new technology that may have come up on the floor this week, right? It's going to take a few months to get the POCs going, right? And after the POC is going, the procurement's going to take a while, right? And then deployment might take a while, and then we'll still be seeing the early lessons, right? So I in that sense, I think it's going to be relatively similar, but I think that we are going to be talking a little bit more around what has been the actual experience with agentic capabilities across the board, right? So perhaps we will be discussing finer point, perhaps, of AI governance in the context of agentic workloads. Perhaps perhaps the discussion on identity is going to be more significant. Perhaps the discussion of how do we contain what may have happened in the latter part of 25 in terms of some significant AI-related incident, right? So I think but we are evolving towards that, but I think that the actual change year to year is not going to be that great. I love your sentiment about us solving secure coding. I want to be a realist. I'm an optimistic realist, right?
You're pragmatist.
I think we'll be discussing similar things, right?
So I think that maybe a flavor in what we're all saying, especially the two of you, is a more in-depth, informed, contextualized conversation about what we're doing.
Yes.
We'll take where we are today, the depth of what that conversation will be much deeper.
Good. And one of the other things we'll be navigating is what technology and cyber are intertwined with geopolitics, and so I think that we're still waiting to see what the consequences are going to be of recent administration moves, of geopolitical events, and so on. So I think that we may see. We'll still be discussing this, and I think we were talking about this yesterday. You made a great point about RSAC as a venue for having those kinds of conversations. So if there's one thing I hope for is that we continue to be that venue, right? And we continue to have that conversation between the right stakeholders, public policy, private industry, and so on.
Well, then be the change you want to make, right?
Something along those lines.
Something like that. So I want to, before we wrap up, I want you to talk about the data set that you just launched, survey data. And just for our listeners, Futurum offers a service called Futurum Intelligence, which is instead of just issuing reports, and we do a lot of that kind of thing, and our surveys and things, we actually have a massive database where we keep all of this across all of our practices and successions of generations of data, and really building up a nice reservoir, if you will, data lake, data whatever, of information that subscribers to that have access to, as well as kind of more in-depth reports. And in each of our areas release updates to that data set. Sometimes it's more data updated, sometimes it's expanding and adjusting the scope of that. I just released the DevOps and application development data set about a month and a half, 2 months ago. You all are just on the cusp of releasing the security, cybersecurity. Talk about your kind of respective collection of what's in that information.
Yes, yeah. So, to your point, Mitch, it's survey work on decision maker buying criteria within cybersecurity.
Yeah.
We cover the gamut. So we cover application, security, cloud, data, endpoint,
Yeah.
security operations center. We have 7 technology categories. And then on the other side of that kind of coin is the market sizing and forecasting data. And what I really love about the research is that it really keeps us grounded in the voice of the customer and the practitioner. That's something that I think is very important with the work that we do, and really as an industry as a whole, when we start to make decisions around product development and things of that nature. So we're really excited to launch it. Yeah, for now.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I say I'm not a data science, nor do I play one on TV, but I love data. One of the birthday presents I got a few years ago, it's very simple. My kids gave it to me. It's a little plaque that says, "I have a spreadsheet for that." Right? So I'm sorry. So I was geeking out.
I can confirm he does.
Yeah. She saw it.
We're both laughing like, that is so true.
Right, and I think that the happiest I am with the application that I have open would be something like Jupyter Notebooks, for example. So I love the data that we have. So we like Krista said, we have a market sizing data, and we have a decision maker data, and I think the decision maker was about 91, 92 questions, something like that.
Yeah.
And across multiple areas, so not just on application security and cloud and whatnot, but also how are organizations behaving? How often does the security team interact with the board and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So one of the data points that's freshest on my mind is we ask people, what are they concerned about? If you ask them to rank their number one thing, it would be ransomware and data breaches. Fine, right? If on aggregate, when you add choice 1 plus choice 2, like top 1, top 2, top 3, and then you add the total, the one that pops up the most would be cloud incidents, right? So it speaks to the variety of issues that security practitioners are dealing with, and it gives us insight. And like Krista said, it keeps us grounded, right? Yeah. Sometimes one of the curses of working as analysts is that sometimes we get too far ahead. Like, no, we're not in an ivory tower. We are here to help our buyers, our sellers, the people who work with us on navigating this. So the data set is those two data sets, like the market sizing and the decision maker, are helpful, very helpful towards that.
It keeps us in the clear air,
yes.
So we're not breathing our own exhaust, right?
Yes.
If you will.
Yes.
And I'll have to find out the number, but it may be hundreds of thousands of data points across all of our practice areas collectively.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, it's got to be a phenomenal number, the amount of information. And we have the tools to slice and dice. And, by the way, every meeting starts out with Fernando, the first 5 minutes. Within the first 5 minutes is, I want to show you a spreadsheet for that. So.
Oh, no, yeah.
Am I right?
Maybe just at the time. Sometimes we take a few minutes, sometimes not 5 minutes, because we were making that joke.
It depends on how patient, how much you can hold back for the moment.
Yeah.
Well, Krista.
The only other thing I might add is just kind of to your point, Mitch, around all the data points across our different practice areas. It's so relevant to the conversation around security because it crops up not just in our dedicated research on cybersecurity, but in our other research areas as well. For example, our CIO research we published earlier this year. It was the top, top initiative and top concern for CIOs.
Yeah, and we had we did some research on agentic AI technology overall, right? And a phenomenal paper. And in that, the area of governance, and where this was most closely aligned, was key priority and whatnot. So the agentic AI paper is done. The paper around the CEO insights about AI overall, trust and governance come up as well. So yeah, so cybersecurity is everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what's cool about AI, cyber, software, is they touch every domain, whether
100%.
it's hardware and laptops and AI PCs to cloud services and applications, data, all of it. So
Never, the tagline I like to use is never a dull day in this industry.
yeah, there isn't. Fernando, it's been good to be in person with you for the first time at this show.
Absolutely.
We've talked so many times over Zoom. And
so one of the things, one of the predictions for RSAC Conference 2026 is we're going to have a fabulous time having this again.
That's right. Hopefully everybody's enjoyed this. We're trying to give folks a window into what we're thinking about and
100%.
seeing, and then we don't have to write everything. We can say a little bit about video. Krista has been fabulous. I've always enjoyed getting together. We've had an opportunity to be at some conferences together.
Yes.
And look forward to that as well.
Yes,
so.
thank you so much, Mitch, and Fernando, both of you. It's always a pleasure.
You bet.
And safe travels, everybody.
Absolutely.
Let's go back to the not ships, but airplanes conversation.
Yes, yes.
So check out futurumgroup.com, which is there's an analyst section where we have all of our research. If you're a subscription customer, you can go to the application portal, the Futurum Intelligence, get access to even the deeper data. And of course, contact us, and we're always happy to talk with folks about the work we're doing, but more importantly, the work they're doing.
Absolutely,
and
100%.
what's happening in their world. So you can reach out to us. Thanks, everybody, on behalf of Krista, Fernando, and myself, Mitch Ashley, here with the Futurum Group. We hope you'll tune in. We'll find some more ways to do this kind of conversation with each other and do it in a way that you can be part of it, too. So thanks for joining us at RSA. Stay tuned. There's more live stream content coming up from... We've got folks lined up to do some interviews and looking forward to that. But as we leave the scene, it's great to be with you and part of this together. So take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, welcome back here to Techstrong TV. You know, whether you've been naughty or nice, next week is RSA conference, and we are in full swing here in Techstrong. Very excited. I'm flying out Saturday. We'll be there setting up Sunday. Monday it was, of course, our DevSecOps event, and this year it's AI, and of course it's AI, cybersecurity, and app dev. We've got some great speakers. Really, really excited. I'm really excited to have these two ladies on, though, because for those of you who know or have been to RSA or follow what goes on at the RSA conference, you already know them. For those of you who don't, these are the powerhouses who run the RSA conference and have for, well, they're a lot they're not as young as they look. They've been doing this a long time.
We have, I know.
Yes. But let me introduce you to my friends Linda Gray Martin, who is it Senior VP of RSAC? Is that the right
That's
title?
correct. Yeah, of the conference. So I look after the conference, but I'm also chief of staff for the company too.
And let me introduce our next guest, who is a powerhouse in her own rights, my friend Britta Glade. Britta, welcome. It's so great to have you here.
It is my pleasure. Thank you, Ellen. Always great to see you.
So let me just make sure I got this right. VP Content and Curation for RSAC.
SVP, Senior Vice President for Service.
SVP.
Yeah.
And Alan, we actually changed the C because RSAC is all about, the C is all the things it means. Content and communities, because we have so many different communities at conference.
Okay. That's fantastic, Britta, and I think that's a perfect role for you. I was kidding around about how long you guys have been involved in RSAC, but it's got to be 15 years, 18 years?
Yeah, easily more than. I joined in 2006 when I was responsible for RSA Conference Europe. So back in those days. So yeah, 2000. So 19 years I've been at the company. Yeah, and Britta, you're...
I think I'm at about 11.
Yeah.
So I got you beat. I've been going to RSA since 2002.
Okay, you're the veteran here.
Uh-huh. I think... What year did we do San Jose? Do you remember? It was in 2003 or 4. It was like in the middle of a downturn.
It used to rotate. It used to be back and forth. San Francisco,
oh, maybe
San
that's
Jose,
why I
San
remember it.
Francisco.
Because it was right after 9/11, and there were more people handing me resumes than they were talking about my product. And I was so bummed. But, that was a long time ago. Anyway, Britta, you mentioned the C in RSAC, right? It took me 5 years to always put the C on RSAC because I wanted to make sure people understood we were talking about RSA conference.
Conference, absolutely.
But now the C is something else, or it's more.
Well, it can be many things. I think that's the beauty of it. I mean, obviously the conference is at the heart of what we do, and it's definitely central to that kind of larger mission that we all feel. But, the C, I think, it just kind of highlights that we've become more than a conference. There's this need for year-round learning and education. And, we're the epicenter of content, connection, culture, conversation, collaboration, I think. But mainly what it really means to all of us and in our hearts is community. It's all about community. So
absolutely.
The C can be many things.
Very good. Let's talk a little bit about, Linda, you mentioned your SVP for the conference, but chief of staff for the company. Yes. For those people maybe a little confused about that, it goes to the heart of the C, if you will. But just, let's close the loop on that one.
Let me close the loop. So hopefully you will have seen that recently we announced the launch of RSAC's membership platform. So, it's going to include capabilities that allow people to continuously learn, to collaborate and to communicate, to help them on a daily basis. So we've kind of got two parts of the business at this point. Obviously, the conference is the center of what we do and always will be. But we do have this expanded membership platform now. So obviously an expanded team that goes along with kind of building, launching, maintaining, and working with the community on that. So our company has grown significantly in the last 18 months. We have 75 employees now.
Wow.
And it's really important that we maintain the very strong culture that we have on the conference as we build this company. And so really that is part of the role that I have as the chief of staff of the company, working together with the teams, making sure that everybody is collaborating effectively and coming together as we kind of go on this journey.
Absolutely. That was always one of the best kept secrets, I think, in security. It's kind of like Wizard of Oz. That behind the black curtain, there were like 6 people pulling the levers for this gigantic conference that the whole industry came to. And, there were contractors and there was a lot of help because when you came to the event, there was people all over. But the fact of the matter was the RSA conference itself was only a handful of full-time employees,
That's
and
right.
back then you were putting on 3 shows, 3 different conferences a year.
I know. I don't know how we did it when we look
Neither
back. Or
do I.
maybe it's just that I've got older and my capacity
No,
is less.
there was a little kind of Wizard of Oz thing going on there.
Yeah, but it's
You know what I love about it though, Ellen? Those you're talking, the full-time employees, and yes, it was always surprising. However, to the heart of what Linda was talking about, community, we've always had a really large number of program committee members, folks from across the community who've, they pick the sessions that are going to be put together. They go through them, they edit it, they prepare, recommendations for how can this be the best possible content. And I've always loved that aspect about RSAC conference. That it really is of by and for the community. It's always been the heart of what we do.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I'd love to sit and talk about this all day with you, but we're under, we have to within time here. And it's the week before RSA conference.
Indeed.
First of all, thank you both, because I know you've both got to be spinning up 1,000,000 miles a minute right now. But let's talk about this year's conference. Why someone looking out here saying, should I go? Shouldn't I go? What do they have to look forward to?
There is so much. Where do we start? I mean, first of all, I just want to give a shout out to the theme of this year's conference, because I think it's one of the main reasons people should come, and it's all about community. So our theme this year is Many Voices, One Community. And it's the heart of everything that we do. And I know we've kind of mentioned that already. And that although people have different backgrounds and different perspectives and different strengths, we're unified together in this mission to help make the world a safer society. And so, and it's a very collaborative feeling. So, of course, we have 500, 600 sessions, 600 exhibitors, 700 speakers, all the stuff that you would expect that people have come to know and love RSA Conference for. And we will have all of that again. But, just being at the heart of this very passionate community where people want to help, they want to lift their peers and colleagues up, and they want to share knowledge. It's such an opportunity. You'll quite often hear Hugh Thompson, our executive chairman, the convening authority for the cybersecurity industry. And it really is. It's where everybody comes together. So just a few thoughts from me.
Brittany, you're SVP of Content and Communities. Talk to us about the content for this year's event.
Absolutely. I love all of the content. You're putting together a great seminar on Monday, right? And what I love with what we put together, the experience across the week, there's a lot of things that happen publicly. There's also a whole lot of content and gatherings and get-togethers that happen for private communities, which is very important. That collaboration, the conversations that happen at conference on different challenging topics, right? Where different groups need to get together. So we, as Linda mentioned, we have, over 600 sessions spread across 29 different tracks. We actually start Sunday with some closed door sessions, run through Thursday with a great closing celebration. The sessions are available, different things are open to different folks depending on what your pass type is. So that's, guidance I would give folks attending. Make sure, when you're looking at the agenda, when you're picking the sessions you want to attend, be sure to reserve a seat, something that's really, really important to you, reserve that seat, and make sure your pass type gets you into the session you want to attend. And then, it's a busy week. Look forward to after the week as well, being able to go back into the library, be able to see those sessions that you're interested in. We talked about the membership platform. There's going to be some great live groups that are available, conversations that will start before the event.
Hey, everyone. It's Alan Schimmel, and we're back here live at the RSA conference covering Wednesday. We are live. You can see behind me the activity's picked up a little. I think some of the sessions are let out, and there's a lot of people heading over to the West keynote stage. Magic Johnson is going to be on keynoting in about 45 minutes. And there's Hey everyone, it's Alan Schimmel, and we're back here live at the RSA conference covering Wednesday. We are live. You can see behind me the activity's picked up a little. I think some of the sessions are let out, and there's a lot of people heading over to the West keynote stage. Magic Johnson is going to be on keynoting in about 45 minutes. And there's
Hey everyone, welcome back to Techstrong TV's live coverage of RSAC from San Francisco, Moscone West. We are in Broadcast Alley. This is our 10th year covering RSAC, and this is where the best of the best experts in cybersecurity and AI are this week. We appreciate Welcome back to Techstrong TV. This is Lisa Martin coming to you live from the show floor at RSAC in San Francisco, when there's about 45,000 folks. This is Techstrong TV's 10th year of covering this massive event in cybersecurity. We're having great conversations yesterday, today, which you know, because you've been watching, with leading cybersecurity experts. Happy to see one of my old colleagues, Amit Sinha here, the CEO of DigiCert. It's so great to see you again.
Great to see you too, Lisa.
Yeah.
We talked about a year ago, and I'm excited to be back here.
I am too. I'm going to brag on you for a minute. I did
Okay.
some LinkedIn stalking. Author of 50 patents, 34 issued, 16 pending, 25 published journal and conference papers, 3 book chapters, 4 theses, dozens of white papers. How do you find the time to do all this and lead a company?
That was in the past. I had good mentors, good
Yeah.
teammates, right?
Yeah.
And hey, it's the team that makes it happen, ultimately.
Absolutely. Being surrounded by a great team is everything. But you've been featured on CNBC, CNN. Here you are with us. What is going on at DigiCert? Give me kind of the rundown since we last spoke.
Well, since we last spoke, a lot has happened in the industry, Lisa.
Yes.
DigiCert, as you know, is a global leader in digital trust, and digital trust is foundational infrastructure that makes sure that all our digital interactions are secure, they are trustworthy, they are private, right? And this whole industry is going through a massive renaissance, right? Let me give you a few areas where this change is happening. Just 2 weeks ago, the Browser Forum passed a new mandate, which now requires digital certificates, which is kind of the underpinning of all this trust fabric. The validity of those certificates will go down from 398 days, just over a year, to now 47 days. It's like 8x reduction. So think about your passport. If it instead of a 5-year validity, if it was expiring every 47 days,
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be crazy, right?
Yeah.
Now it's safe because if someone stole it or if it was out in the wild, you don't have to worry about exposure. But what that means is the industry now needs fail-safe automation, right?
Yes.
Because all of the, think of all the websites, the apps, the software,
Which
the
are only just
machines. they're just
proliferating,
exploding.
right? Yes.
And we haven't even gone to AI agents, and we'll get there.
Yes.
With all of these non-human identities, using PKI, you need a system that can centrally govern it and provide fail-safe automation, right? So that's a huge change that's happening, and we're talking to many customers about how do I get command and control over millions of these cryptographic assets that might be within an organization, and they provide you secure communication or authenticated devices. So that's one huge change. And riding on top of that is this whole quantum thing, right? So the math that secures all the trust fabric is based on these classical algorithms that are now vulnerable to quantum computers. And we've known this for a while, but what has happened is, since we spoke, just earlier this year, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they're all coming up with their bigger, better, faster versions of their quantum chips.
Yeah.
And I think, we're going to have a chat GPT-like moment where one day we'll wake up and say, wow, these quantum computers are here, and all of our trust fabric based on these math problems that we deemed were secure is suddenly broken, right?
Wow.
So that's a huge, thing that's happening in the industry where people are preparing for post-quantum cryptography. And those standards exist today. It's just work needs to happen to go through this upgrade cycle.
And how quickly, based on the acceleration. I mean, ChatGPT was born, a couple years ago, 2.5 years ago, and it just catalyzed this revolution. I mean, AI is not a new concept. It's been around for a long time.
Exactly.
But once it was launched, every company had what's our AI story?
Yeah.
We have to have an AI story.
Yeah.
But the good guys have access to the tools. The bad actors have access to the tools. It's like fighting fire with fire.
Exactly.
How do you conceptually explain digital trust to customers, and what does that mean for them to be able to deliver the brand value that they expect, that they have to deliver?
Yeah. So, Lisa, digital trust, again, is foundational infrastructure, right? How do you know you're talking to the right bank website, not a fake one? How do I know that my app-to-app communication is secure and private? you sign digital documents. How do you know that the deed on that PDF doc you signed is going to be not tampered with and hold up in a court of law 10 years from now, right? How do you know that the software update you got on your iPhone really came from Apple?
Right.
All of this is based on the same PKI, the same cryptography, right?
Yeah.
And so that's foundational infrastructure. And DigiCert, 90% of Fortune 500 use DigiCert to get to that trust fabric that I talk about.
As that fabric undergoes changes and upgrades, how do you keep up? I mean, the speed with which things are going is mind-boggling.
Exactly.
For organizations that might not have the digital trust fabric or the visibility to understand where are all of our vulnerabilities.
100%. And
how do you keep up with the changes to the fabric?
Yeah, so again, step one, you need a system and you need automation, right?
Yeah.
So I talk to half a dozen customers every week.
Nice.
And these conversations are happening where, look, even going from 398 days to 47 days, right? Now you need fail-safe automation. What does that mean? That means, well, I need to be able to validate in an automatic way.
Yeah.
What do I need for validation? First, I need to be able to prove that I control this domain or this machine. So my DNS and my PKI need to work together, right? Otherwise, what's going to happen is that two things. You won't have automation, so you'll have humans in the loop, and then it'll lead to outages. It'll lead to exposure because you weren't able to update, the PKI on a particular machine because the person was away on vacation or something else happened. So you need these two core systems. I call that electricity and water on the internet. PKI and DNS to work together.
Yeah.
And what DigiCert One does is gives you a single platform to fully manage and automate these two foundational pieces of digital trust, right? So now imagine millions of machines, so many domains to manage. Your DNS team and PKI team no longer need to be in silos, and they get a central system where I can validate that, hey, this is Amazon.com. Yes, Amazon really controls it. Oh, it's 46 days. Let's go ahead and update the cert and repeat that for millions of private machines that you might have internally. So that's kind of a huge thing that's happening in the industry, and DigiCert's leading the way with lots and lots of our customers with that change in standards, and that actually prepares you for post-quantum cryptography as well.
Okay.
Because what is post-quantum? It's just new math. So think about, back to your passport example. Now there's a better passport, right? More tamper-proof.
Yeah.
But the underlying process hasn't changed, right? You still need to validate. You still
Correct.
need to manage and automate.
But the automation is critical.
That's the part that we are driving to. And DigiCert One now supports all the post-quantum standards that have been approved by NIST as of fall last year.
So you're already getting ahead of the curve here.
So we're already ahead of the curve, and we have many customers who are, leading the way. And, we do a survey where we go through the grief cycles, right? Because this is once in a 30-year upgrade. And 2 years ago, when I used to talk about post-quantum cryptography, most people would say, hey, that's a problem out there.
Down the road.
And now, you have CISOs and CXOs saying, what's our quantum strategy? Are we prepared? Do we have an inventory of all our assets? Do we know what are our crown jewels and what do we need to upgrade first? So the conversation has gone from what's quantum to what can we do about it.
So getting proactive?
100%.
That's outstanding, because I always think in cybersecurity, are we always behind? Will we ever be able to be proactive with just how quickly things are transpiring and how the risk surface just continues to expand amorphously? And we have more data, more software, more apps. That train isn't slowing down anytime soon.
It isn't. And look, when you start adding things like AI agents, right? I mean, customers are asking, well, you can, you're helping us manage software and devices and machines. Now here's an AI agent. This is is it software? Is it a machine? Is it, how long will it last?
How
right?
will it be managed?
How will it be managed? So one of the foundational principles in security is to separate identity and authorization from the capabilities of the underlying software or agent, right?
Okay.
So think about it this way, Lisa. I mean, a year from now, I might have 6 agents working for me. Maybe I have a Zoom avatar that shows up, right? Maybe there's an agent approving expense reports or doing mundane things. But maybe I have an agent that's negotiating a contract, right? What do I need? I need a kill switch on the agent, right? I need an audit log of what are the things that it it did, because ultimately it's acting on my behalf.
Right.
And so I need to be able to, first have a tamper-proof identity. I need to have a tamper-proof record of what it did.
Right.
And if I don't like something, I need a kill switch to be able to say, you're no longer authorized to do that, right? What's all that? That's back to, again, PKI, right? How do I authorize, we know how to authorize a machine. We know how to say this is authentic software. There are lifetimes associated with it where you can go and say, well, after 47 days, it's no longer valid, right? So we're bringing similar concepts now to AI agent trust, right? Where you can say, look, these agents are very powerful, but identity, access, authorization is in my control, right?
Yes.
Versus saying, this agent goes rogue and does whatever it wants.
Right. Well, the agentic AI explosion, just another example of this catalyst in every industry, in every vertical. I talk a lot with chief marketing officers, and everyone is embracing agentic AI. It's part of their KPIs as integrated marketing organizations. So we're just going to see that continue to explode. But being able to, you put the right word, get control over it. Is that a possibility? Because they're proliferating so fast.
Well, look, again, you need to combat AI with AI. We hear that theme over and over again.
Yes, we do.
But, we need to learn from things in the past and be proactive and apply it, right? The examples I gave about separating identity and access from and being able to govern it in a way, right? Is very, very, very crucial.
It's not a nice to have anymore for organizations. Yeah, it's table stakes.
Yeah, and I kind of like your proactive angle, right? We have customers who are very proactive. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, I was with Zoom, and we work with Velkami, who's the president of Zoom, and his team, and it's a great example of a company and a customer that's very proactive about these things. So let me give you 3-4 simple examples. Yeah. We talked about post-quantum cryptography. Zoom Workspace now supports end-to-end quantum-safe encryption. So they're, already ahead of the curve, right? Zoom, when Zoom clients talk to Zoom servers, they use DigiCert PKI to kind of secure that communication. Now, other things too, like the industry is moving to 47-day certs. Zoom's already rotating these certs now on a 6-month basis, right? Okay. Their code signing certificates are being rotated on a monthly basis, and they're able to, do majority of their digital trust infrastructure on a fully automated basis, with integrations and platform support from DigiCert. So that's a great example of a customer who's being proactive, who's ahead of the curve, and that's what you need in the security industry today.
Absolutely, and like I said, it's not a nice to have anymore. It's essential. But so many organizations, I think, struggle, and you probably see this in all of your customer conversations. Where do we start? It's so overwhelming. But knowing that there is a way with DigiCert, for example, to enable organizations across industries, across verticals, to become proactive with something that's coming is enlightening. I'm so glad that you shared that story. Last question for you. I think I saw that DigiCert is on the track to reach $1 billion ARR.
That is true.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What's next? What can we expect next from DigiCert?
Look, we just want to deliver awesome services and an awesome platform for our customers. I think in the next 4 years, PKI and digital trust is going to go through massive renaissance, right? With quantum, with the things that we talked about. You're right. Many customers say, where do we start? Yeah. And, I'm doing trust summits now. We've hit 3 cities. We're going to go to 4 more in the next month or so.
Excellent.
And we're just, going and helping customers start their PKI modernization journey, get prepared for quantum safety, figure out how do we bring digital trust in the real world with AI agents, right? Those are all things. So, we're very excited. And look, $1 billion is just a milestone.
That's
right?
a big milestone.
But it's not like the race finishes there, right?
No.
We just want to continue to grow and serve our customers.
And continue to be proactive.
100%.
Ahmed, it was so great to have you back on Techstrong TV. I always enjoy our conversations. But thank you for sharing what's going on with digital trust, why it's so foundational, how the fabric is changing, but how you're helping organizations actually get ahead of the curve. Really appreciate your insights.
Thank you, Lisa. I always enjoy our conversation.
Likewise. For Amit and I'm Lisa Martin. You're watching Techstrong TV live from day 2 of RSAC, coming to you from San Francisco. We'll be back with our next guest, so stick around. Hey everyone, welcome back to Techstrong TV's live coverage of RSAC from San Francisco, Moscone West. We are in Broadcast Alley. This is our 10th year covering RSAC, and this is where the best of the best experts in cybersecurity and AI are this week. We appreciate you tuning in. I'm very excited for this next conversation. Sol Rashidi is here. She is the CEO and founder of Executive AI, and you do so many things, Sol. Great to have you on Techstrong TV. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to brag on you a bit because I LinkedIn stalked you.
Okay.
You have 10 patents.
I do. Working on the 11th one right now.
You're a best-selling author. You're a top 50 women in tech. I love that. I get goosebumps. And this is awesome. Forbes AI Maverick of the 21st Century? You're literally a maverick.
I've been lucky. Far from it. I think with the pace of change and how everything's going from, we're all just barely keeping up.
No.
But I was fortunate enough to get a few labels and titles along the way.
Well, that's fantastic. Talk to me a little bit about Executive AI. You are the founder. You're the managing director. This is a consulting practice?
So it was interesting because it happened completely by accident. I've always been a C-suite, a part of really amazing Fortune 100 companies, like some of the largest firms that you've ever even heard of. Like I've always represented them as the chief data officer, chief data and analytics officer. I was the enterprise's first chief AI officer, appointed back in 2016.
Okay.
So I've always served these companies, and I've always been brought in to build the capabilities, scale the capabilities. And so that's kind of where a lot of my practitioner experience came from. And then I left enterprise, and I discovered that, I helped IBM launch Watson back in 2011.
Wow.
And so from 11 to 2015, my job was to fly around the world, work with these enterprises, help them establish their AI strategy, their use cases, and help them deploy. No different than how everyone started in 2023. So I'm just watching the world kind of go, I'm like, yeah, we did this, and we made that mistake, and we did this, and we made that mistake. But no one's calling out their mistakes. No one's calling out the lessons learned. And
they're so valuable.
I always say you learn from the mistakes.
Absolutely.
And so, fail forward, fail fast, but you learn. So why should people have to go through and repeat what a slew of us, quite frankly, went through nearly more than a decade ago? Yes. So Executive AI was created because I think there's a lot of C-suite executives. I think there's a lot of leaders. I think there's a lot of companies that are learning and earning, meaning they're learning on the fly.
Right.
But they don't necessarily understand what the bottlenecks are. And I say in the world of AI, you've got data, infrastructure, and talent. Infrastructure is all the tech stacks, the tools. It's not about GPUs and CPUs and workloads. We've solved that. Data security is a major hurdle right now. And then talent preparation, because the way we're going to market with artificial intelligence, and I saw this back in 2012 and 13, it's we're going to do AI to increase productivity and capacity, which by default means we can run leaner. And that is never the case. So the goal isn't to increase capacity so you can displace employees. The entire intention is how do you give them time to reflect and realign on the bigger business problems. So it was supposed to be kind of a side hustle so that I could actually help other organizations go through workforce preparation and data security that then turned into kind of a thing of its own.
I love that. Sometimes serendipity, right?
Yeah.
I love your mission. I identified this with this as a marketer. I was telling you before we went live, your mission about bridging the gap between the technical folks, the non-technical worlds, helping pivot from this massive AI hype that we're still kind of in.
Yeah.
But now it's time to talk about AI results. Share a little bit more about your mission. Why is that so important to you?
It's interesting because for those of us that are in this space, we're knee deep into it. And you hear about all the amazing startups and what they're doing, and you hear about all the tech companies that we're doing. But we're missing the point because there's an entire ecosystem around us. Most of the, if not all of the Fortune 500s, they're not tech native.
No.
They use technology as an enabler, but they're not tech native.
Right.
So everyone is constantly in defense versus in offense. Everyone is reacting versus responding.
Yes.
And they're just trying to catch up.
Yes.
And so I think that's where the bridge really exists is we're in this space and we kind of understand it. We kind of geek out on our own things. But quite frankly, it doesn't matter what amazing tools and tech we build, unless there's true adoption.
Yeah.
nothing we do is ever going to scale. And the adopters happen to be the non-tech native, the non-digitally native individuals. So I always like to say that I'm just a glorified translator. And oddly enough, my first job out of school, I used to be a professional rugby player, and then I was like, okay, time to grow up.
Wow.
I need to get like paid for a living, so I'm not sleeping on futons and eating ramen noodles. And so I became a data engineer. And 6 months in, my boss came to me. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting fired. I thought I was getting fired because he said, Sol, you're never allowed to touch a lick of production code ever again. You can hack your way through things, but you cannot write production-ready code. He said, but for some reason, you like the business, you get along with the business, and you know how to build relationships. So your job is to talk to them, figure it out, what it is that they need, translate it to us, because you know our world. We're going to build it, and then you're going to go back to them. Because what was happening is the business would say they would need one thing, they would build it, only to find out that's not what they meant.
Right.
So I thought, I was like, oh, well, I'm not getting fired, but I'm totally getting demoted. But it turned out that playing this translator between the business side and the technical side turned out to be a really, really critical asset, because most of my positions, it's not because I'm the smartest person in the room, it's because I'm the only one that understands both sides of the house.
You are the bridge.
And I can find the common ground. So the bridge.
You are the bridge. What is that like culturally because when we talk about like DevSecOps and the developers and security, and there's a lot of commonalities that they have, but they struggle to collaborate. How do you see the technical folks collaborating and cohabitating with the non-technical folks? What some of the magic that you've seen happen, and what's essential for that cohabitation?
Yeah. I would say what's essential for that cohabitation is if our technical folks who have tremendous IQ also put just as much emphasis on their EQ, their BQ, and their SQ. You know, I would say the first big faux pas and mistake I made in my first C-suite role was I leaned and overleaned into my IQ. Well, they clearly put me in this position because they thought I was smart enough to have the C-suite position.
Right.
But I learned that my IQ actually wasn't going to help me evangelize or scale or help build critical mass in the things that we were building. It was my EQ, my ability to read the room and the groups and the teams to understand what they were afraid of or why they were pushing back and resisting so much. Or my BQ, the ability to translate our terms and terminologies and taxonomies and lexicon of language into their language, which we don't do in our world very, very well. And then the SQ. At the end of the day, people still believe into people. They still buy from people.
Right.
And so my running joke was at one of my employers, I went to more happy hours than I could even care for. But it built the trust.
Yes.
And so I would have one-on-ones with these executives, these presidents and CEOs, and saying, listen, I don't get it. I don't understand it, but you do, and I trust you. So I'm going to give you a few of my resources. Go pilot this. And then quite frankly, if the response is well, then we'll evangelize and scale it. So it was like, that's all it took.
Yeah.
And so what I always like to say is, technology can scale efficiencies, but relationships are what scale the opportunities.
Absolutely.
And that's not something we really lean in onto sometimes because we just kind of like geeking out on the tools.
Yeah. We do, but you bring up such a great point that so much of this, even in the age of AI, the era of AI, is relationship based.
It still is.
And which I like that because there are soft skills like empathy, for example. You talked about EQ, curiosity, the ability to bridge gaps that are so vital to every role that some of them aren't trainable. You're born with it, right?
Yeah. But you can develop it.
Okay.
Like if you put a conscious effort.
Yeah.
Naturally, I was always hired to be a bit of a change agent, to build capabilities that didn't exist before. And I was in travel and entertainment. I was in music. I was in pharmaceuticals. I was in consumer products. Well, consumer products, travel and entertainment, and media and like music industry, they're very, very creative spaces. Mm-hmm. And so I was always like, well, we're building the amazing things. You should use it. You've been asking for this.
Yeah.
But it never really cracked the nut. And then it was storytelling helps, learning their language helps.
Right.
But then I realized that a lot of this is just fear-based and habits. So I'll never forget this, but we went to a leadership conference in one of my, the CDO role that I was serving for this company. And I was getting massive resistance, even though what I thought we were building was amazing. And so they had me speak on stage, and I said, listen, I'm not here to replace your intuition. Mm-hmm. I'm not here to replace your experience. And I'm not here to replace your relationships. but you have questions and you're frustrated at getting those answers. So my job is to make sure that you have those insights and those data points right when you need them, so that you could make those bigger business decisions. So don't view me as a threat. View me as your enabler and supporter, so that you could lean in more on your relationships and experiences. But the data points that you need, you're not getting frustrated because you have to wait days, if not weeks, to be able to get them. So I'm here to support you. So consider me a stool. You're here to step on me so that you could elevate your performance and your team's performance. And I know my function. It is here to serve you. And it was just amazing because the presidents of the divisions and the heads of like the different functional areas, they paused. Everyone stopped looking at their phone or doing whatever they were. And then they were just kind of baffled. And then the week later, all the one-on-ones I had requested were now accepted. I was getting the executive assistant saying, hey, Matt wants to talk to you. Hey, that thing that you said really resonated. There's some ideas we wanted. Then I started getting invited to the leadership calls. And so the goal isn't about threatening or displacing. It's about elevating those that create magic.
That's a great
And
word,
I do
elevated.
think that's what we technologists do.
How do you advise prospective leaders to go from that practitioner role to leadership? I imagine the languages are very different.
They're very different.
Yes.
You know, I moderated a panel yesterday, which was amazing. We had the CISO of Meta, we had the CISO of OpenAI, we had the CISO of Anthropic. Like, those are my rock stars, right? Like
me
in the
too,
80s, it was
me
like
too.
Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, but now I'm like, it's Matt,
I'm with
Jason.
you.
Like, and they were on a panel, and I asked them a very question. And it was interesting to see everyone's responses. But the one thing that they had in common was they never lost their practitioner skill, but they learned how to lead and manage. Because practitioners, we love geeking out. We love going deep. We're kind of hard to manage. We're kind of anarchists. We love our bubble and we want to stay in it. But when you learn to manage and lead, and I made so many mistakes, and I have to apologize to a lot of people who reported into me earlier on. I was learning and earning at the same time. My leadership style is so different than the way it was.
Good for you.
10 years ago. That's the biggest thing. You got to learn how to work with people, and not just the people that you manage. Also your peers. Also the people above you. Like, it's kind of like if you're at the middle of this vector, you've got arrows going in all. You've got to be a compass of influence. And that takes a lot of energy and effort. It's draining.
It is.
But if you can do it well, you could leapfrog forward.
What is a time frame that you've normally seen practitioners being able to take on the education of management, of leadership? This is not, I imagine, an overnight process, because there's behavioral changes that have to happen. And as people, change is hard.
Change is very hard. It depends. If you're in a startup, you can do it as early as your late 20s, early 30s. Chief product officers, chief revenue officers, head of DevOps in startups. Like, I've met anywhere from like 26 to 34. But you're an enterprise. The risk profile is a lot bigger.
Absolutely.
The teams are a lot larger. The revenues that are being questioned are a lot grander. And so there's an element of not only just practitioner maturity, but personality maturity that goes into it, that showcases you know how to navigate this world, and you're not going to throw a tantrum if you don't get your way.
What are some of the soft skills that are essential for this practitioner transformation?
Business language.
Business language.
We can throw, like in the data space, we could talk about lineage and catalogs and enterprise data management and master data management, data security and InfoSec all day long. That does zero for the business. Zero. I don't even use my language in front of them. You know, my pitch is always like, aren't you frustrated that it takes months rather than minutes to be able to get the information you need? I'll fix that. But I'm going to need 6 months. I'm going to need X amount of dollars, and I'm going to need 2 people from your team because I need them to do X, Y, and Z. And you'll solve that problem in 4 to 5 months, and it'll be productionalized 6. I won't even talk about how I'm going to do it. And then if I get asked, then I'm like, all right, let me break it down for you. And then I go into my language. Usually they glaze over again. Like, okay, that's fine. I'll be your stakeholder. Here's the funding that you have approved. Here's the headcount you have approved. Go build.
What's one of your favorite stories of impact that you've made in an opportunity like what you just described?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I'm sure you have many.
I do. Okay. One of my favorite use cases for artificial intelligence is building what I call an augmented knowledge store for customer support. whether you're in financial services or commercial banking, right? There's warranties, there's offers, there's so much to memorize. Or if you're in consumer products, there's a ton of product SKUs that you have to memorize. It is nearly impossible for anyone to go through and memorize, if they're even documented, by the way, in these manuals and PDFs, because new service and offerings and warranties, they're constantly being offered day in and day out. And so you're dealing with a group, customer support, that historically is not tech forward, not tech centric. They've often been with the company 20 plus years. There's a lot of fear and resistance towards new tech.
Sure.
But it also has the easiest opportunity, because it takes 6 to 7 months to onboard a customer service rep. From getting to know the process, memorizing the products and services, shadowing a senior person, then actually attending calls and being shadowed. It's a long process. That OpEx cost is massive.
Sure.
So one of my favorites was one of the companies I'd work with that I said, listen, why are we having our customer support reps memorizing 80,000 different SKUs?
Right.
The focus should be on answering the question as quickly as possible.
Right.
And giving assurance to the person who's calling in to complain, not on trying to recollect and going, I don't know, let me escalate, hold please, let me ask my manager. So it's the easiest and the most fun. And you get to see the aha moments in the customer service reps of creating this augmented knowledge store where they're like, which one of my products are vegan? Which one has this ingredient that's going to create an allergic reaction? And they'll get a list. So as the person calling in asks a question, they have this co-pilot next to them, not to be confused with Microsoft.
Sure.
But they have this assistant.
Yeah.
They type the questions, they get the immediate answers, and then they're able to answer it and go, and by the way, I completely understand what you're going through. Let me make sure that my response is exhaustive, because even though this isn't a primary ingredient in our products, I want you to be aware of the other products that have it as a secondary and tertiary. That's building trust.
Absolutely.
And brands right now, trust is the biggest currency.
It's currency. Absolutely.
So easy, so responsive. And customer service reps, they don't have to understand tech. They just have to know that they don't have to memorize everything.
They're empowered.
100%.
Which every brand needs to have that. Last question for you.
Yeah.
Here we are at RSAC. The cybersecurity landscape changes minute by minute, probably second by second. What encourages you about where we are in this AI era from a cybersecurity perspective?
Oh, I pause because, if truth be told, I'm a little bit worried.
Yeah.
I think we're still very much in a defensive posture versus being an offensive posture.
Yes, agree.
I think there's still a lot that we don't know.
Yes.
Our surface area of exposure is not doubling or quadrupling. Like, it's beyond Moore's law as we go from what we call artificial intelligence, but whether it's augmented intelligence or automated intelligence, into autonomous agents where the agents are going to be making the decisions. We're not there yet. I'll be very honest. We're talking about it, but by the time enterprise catches up, like, the risk profile for that is very, very massive. There's a lot of steps that go into it, and folks aren't aware yet. Our surface area just gets vast.
Right.
And right now, earlier stats were saying that there was about 23%, if you talk about 2022, of attacks were cyber attacks. It's now gone up to 50%. But the stats are that by the mid-2026, most of those attacks, it's going to increase to 75%, are actually going to be machine-to-machine attacks, not human-to-machine attacks. And the detection levels needed for those is just a completely different ballgame. So we're going to have to rewrite the script fairly shortly.
Yeah. It's challenging to think about how to become proactive when there's still so much defense going on.
So much defense, and we're all behind. Like, it's impossible to keep up with the pace of change.
It's breakneck speed.
I know. I feel like I'm under a lake with a straw, like just trying to gas a little bit of
air. Yes.
And I'm in this space. I can't even imagine what it's got to be like if you're not.
Yeah. So it's been so great having you on the program. Thank you for sharing what you're doing, how you're achieving that mission, how you are the bridge between the technical, the non-technical, and really helping organizations pivot from this AI hype to AI reality. We so appreciate your insights and your time on Techstrong.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Rasul Rashidi, I'm Lisa Martin. You're watching Techstrong TV live from the show floor of RSAC in Broadcast Alley. We'll be back after a short break, so we'll see you soon.
Hey everyone, we're back here live at RSA conference in Moscone West. kind of, this time of day, everyone's in sessions. The din dies down so you can hear me. Excuse me. I'm happy to introduce you to my next guest. If you follow Techstrong at all, he's been on a number of times, and he's the CEO of Checkmarx. And if you, again, follow Techstrong, you know we have a very tight relationship with Checkmarx, and we feature them a lot. But let me introduce you to Sandeep Jari.
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
Yeah, Jari. Yeah.
Jari. Sandeep Jari. I know Sandeep actually from before Checkmarx and Tricentis, and he has a long track record of making successful companies. Sandeep, welcome to Techstrong TV. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure to have you here.
A year ago. We were here 2 years ago.
Yes, we were in the same booth.
Yeah.
They're giving you the same booth every year. So Sandeep, it's been about 2 years now with Checkmarx. You've really, not that it needed a turnaround, don't get me wrong, but you've really left your mark imprint on Checkmarx. I see it in the personnel, I see it in the messaging, I see it in the product direction. I see it in its standing in the market, right? Checkmarx has kind of reclaimed its spot as a leader in the AppSec market, right? But you know how it is. If you're not moving forward, you're dying in this market, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So a lot of things going on. If you wouldn't mind, share with our audience a little bit of what you see as the big things going on with Checkmarx.
So at Checkmarx, 2 years ago, we launched, or 4 years ago, we launched a product called Checkmarx One,
Yes.
which was our cloud-native platform, but was a comprehensive platform. And when we talked 2 years ago, we had just started mainstreaming our customers. Over the last 2 years, we've made incredible progress on Checkmarx One. It now is more than 50% of our installed base, and we are scanning over 450 billion lines of code every month. We have also, it is the most comprehensive platform for AppSec. It has SAST, obviously, SCA, but we've added malicious code, we've added secrets, containers, we have added DAS. So it's really the most comprehensive platform, which is why most of our customers are now moving. We are at more than 50%. By the end of this year, we should be at 70 to 75% of our customers having moved. We'll have some laggards, primarily government agencies and some very large enterprises. But the move to Checkmarx One has been quite incredible. It's one of the fastest moves to a cloud-native platform from an on-prem solution. And like I said, we are scanning literally more than 1 million projects a month, more than 450 billion
almost
lines
a
of
half
code.
a trillion lines of code a month.
Yeah, well, half a trillion, which is rapidly increasing. As of the end of last year, we were doing 350. So literally in 1 quarter, it's gone from 350 to 450. So it's really accelerating. And the reason for that is Checkmarx One is not only a comprehensive platform, but it's also a very dev-centric platform. Yes. So we have IDE plugins all the way, so it really shifts left. And that's what's driving a lot of the increased scanning, because now developers individually can kick off scans as they're writing code. Literally with every pull request they can scan, and that's what's driving it. So that's been a huge focus for us.
To me, it's riding on two very important waves in the market. One is it's a platform. We were talking, we did Techstrong Gang this morning. I don't know if you saw Palo Alto acquired some AI company yesterday. And it's a move towards a platform. You've been in security a long time, as long as I have. You know this. In security, small companies make products. Medium companies buy the small companies, and those products become features.
Yeah.
Bigger companies buy the medium companies, and those products and features get rolled into a platform. Because with a platform, you have an ecosystem. You have the company's entire platform of things that plug in. You have third-party partners, whether it's API or however, that plug in. And it allows you to do things that you can't do at just a product level. It's that platform. So I think it's really, especially when we talk about like the move to cloud native, moving from on-prem, modern application modernization, microservices, a product, a point product, it just doesn't cover it. You need that platform. Secondly, is the idea of who's the user of this platform. I think, unfortunately, the road is littered with security companies who thought they were going to do DevSecOps nirvana by building security products for security people that app dev would use. App dev doesn't use security products.
Yeah.
It's just, that's for security people. I think a lot of companies got hung up on that. One of the nice things about Checkmarx One is it is a security product, but designed for the app dev audience.
Yes.
And that's, it sounds subtle, but it's not subtle. It's a major to do here. So I think that is a big reason for the success.
Yeah, actually, when I joined the company, I met with literally, reached out to 100 of our CISOs, and they raised exactly the 2 points you're saying. We don't want point solutions. It's too noisy. We want a single platform. And two, we want to shift left, move away from only security using it to developers using it. So those were the two design centers of Checkmarx One. And over the last 2 years, we have spent a lot of effort on making sure that the developer experience is incredible. Because developers, at the end of the day, don't care much about security. They don't like security. It's a barrier to their speed of innovation. And therefore, our job as security vendors is to make sure that while we give them the efficacy of having good, deep security, we make it also easier. So we have spent a lot, and one of the things we've announced recently is we have an ASPM built into our platform. But the ASPM originally was initially was targeted at the security professionals who could take feeds from all the engines and then have an ASPM to kind of sort it out and do correlations and exploitability and the like. And what we've done, we just recently announced, is we brought the ASPM capability right into the IDE, again, for the benefit of the developer, so that it makes it very easy for the developer to be able to remediate, to understand the priorities of which vulnerabilities they should be working on, and then be able to remediate. So we've also added AI help capability in the IDE. So when you get a vulnerability, you get told how, one, it explains to you what it is, and it gives you suggestions on how to remediate it. So that's all driven towards making life really easy for the developer. So.
Wonderful. Not everyone watching this is a security person, so let me ask you, ASPM stands for Application
Security Posture Management. So it allows you to take vulnerabilities that are identified by multiple application security engines, static analysis, open source, and the like, and pull it all together in one area, one place where you can do correlations and prioritization. So that's what ASPM does.
Absolutely. You know, you were describing the mission of trying to create an environment that allowed developers to go fast and secure and get code out. And that really describes the whole platform engineering mission, if you will. You know, and for those who don't know, Checkmarx partners with us and the platformengineering.org community. On our platform engineering show, I actually did a roundtable webinar, I think last week, with some of the Checkmarx and other people. We get tremendous, the audience is so involved asking questions. They drive the whole thing. But it really is where the rubber's meeting the road right now. You mentioned AI as well, Sandeep. This whole show here, this here is AI. And I get it. Everyone wants to have, remember when the cloud came out? What's your cloud story? Every VC asks you, what's your cloud story? Today it's, what's your AI story? It's hard to stand out with 600 vendors on that floor, and they're all touting their AI. Talk to us about the Checkmark's AI strategy, if you will.
So our AI strategy is multifold. One, we are using AI and agentic products to redefine AppSec. The traditional way of doing AppSec was, like you said, the security people would look at the results, prioritize things, and then send it over to developers. Today, with agentic solutions, what we can do is take all those vulnerabilities, prioritize them, and allow developers with one click to be able to fix them. So our strategy is to have agents that are targeted at different personas. One agent targeted at the developer, another agent targeted at the AppSec administrator or the AppSec team that does the prioritization, sets the policies, sets policies across different projects and the like. And the third agent targeted at executives that want to look at application security from a risk perspective. And so we plan to have 3 such agents out in the market shortly. And so that's around what can we use AI to make AppSec a whole lot better, kind of redefine AppSec, if you may, on how it's used at an enterprise. And platform engineering becomes really important there because every enterprise that I'm talking to wants to move from DevOps to DevSecOps, and you can't do that without integrating this fully. So our agents will help further speed up the remediation of vulnerabilities, which is ultimately the goal of AppSec. The second part is a whole set of new vectors that get introduced because of AI, because of LLM. So we have our research team is doing a lot of work on what are the new threat vectors that come about because of AI, and this is things like prompt injection or hallucinations. How do we capture that? This is a lot of what Palo Alto bought in Protect AI.
Right.
We actually were partnering with them as well, but we continue to have our own products on that. So it's twofold, if you may. So.
Absolutely. $700 million, that acquisition, a lot of money. But
everyone needs the buzz. So.
Buy a lot of buzz for $700 million. But anyway, let me ask you another question, though. Again, you've been in security. You're a successful multi-time CEO. Do you worry about what are we going to do? Will we have too many agents? Everybody has 2 agents, 3 agents, another agent here, there an agent, here an agent, everywhere an agent. How many is too many?
Yeah, I think the way to think about agents is they're really. I know agents are defined as really some things that are operating fully autonomously. I think that's a long ways off, in that I was talking to a CISO of a large bank yesterday, and he said, for security, we actually want agents that can help resolve things, but we don't want auto remediation. We want human intervention. So, like we were talking earlier, AI is one of those things which, it's not that AI will replace humans completely. AI will replace humans with humans that are enabled with AI. Right? Or AI-enabled humans will replace humans, not that AI will replace humans. And we think of it that way. Our developer-focused agent, for example, will have the ability for human intervention, where we think of it as you can do auto remediation. At some point, you might be comfortable enough to be able to do that for a certain class of vulnerabilities, but for a different class of vulnerabilities, for the more critical ones, people would want some human intervention to have some oversight on it. To your question of too many agents, well, we'll see how these go. Some of these agents are just AI washing. They're not really a whole lot different than what people have had before. They're presented in a different way. So I think there might be a little bit of overhyping, if you may. But the other aspect is that with MCP and A2A, you will have agents talking to each other, and what every enterprise we talk to are just as worried about the governance around these agents, where you need auditability, you need traceability. Like the bank CISO I was talking to, he said one of the main things, one of the big things they need to be able to demonstrate to their regulators is not just that they don't have any vulnerabilities, but the ones that they discovered, how did they resolve them? How did they discover them? How did they resolve them? And is there a record of all of that? So, it's still evolving. I think it's really exciting, all the agentic stuff, where you're making it, I think of it as a dramatically simpler user interface, if you may, with a lot of intelligence built in.
Agreed. I think of them almost as ephemeral, right? Because they do a specific job, and when they're done doing that job, they go back into the box. You know what I mean? But I do think what you said about we will have humans empowered by AI, not humans replaced by AI.
Correct.
At least for as long as you and I are going to be involved. Down the road, maybe different, but who knows?
I mean, if you take even code, the quintessential use case of using coding agents, even there, the most powerful coding agents are the ones where they assist humans and humans are involved. You're not having people write things automatically without any human oversight. So.
Absolutely. There's one last area I want to talk, return to checkmarks. So you've got the Checkmarks One platform. Got so much going on. AppSec is such a dynamic market right now. For our audience out here, what do you think over the next year? We'll sit down we're going to sit down in a month or two, but not in person. But for the next year, what should we focus on? Where should the focus be?
So the trend I see in AppSec is really what we talked about earlier, which is how do we, every enterprise I'm talking to is looking at consolidating their functions, consolidating their AppSec vendors. And I think this year is going to further accelerate that with agents that are sitting over all of these engines. I think it further accelerates that. The other aspect is people really want to get the shift left move. It's not yet fully happened. There's still large enterprises that are trying to embed security into the development workflow, and I think we'll continue to see that. So at Checkmarks, we continue to focus on the developer experience, continue to drive functionality across the platform, like we've added secrets, we've added containers, we've added DAST, to really make it completely comprehensive. So there's only one. I don't think there'll be a consolidation of all security platforms, as you were talking about, where a Palo Alto buys up everything from code to cloud. But we are very focused on AppSec and being the best enterprise solution for AppSec. And that's what we are focused on. That's what we hear from customers that they want, especially the larger enterprises that have complex environments. So that's what we're focused on.
I love it. Checkmarks.com.
Yes, checkmarks.com.
CheckMarx.com. Sandeep, a pleasure.
Okay.
One of the great gentlemen in the Valley here, if you ever get a chance to meet him in person. We're live. Thank you. We're live here at RSA. We'll be back in a moment with more coverage. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you.
good morning. Welcome to Techstrong TV, day 2 of our coverage, live coverage of RSAC from Moscone West in San Francisco. This is Techstrong's 10th year of covering RSAC, but of course our fearless leader, Alan, has been coming here for much, much longer than that. We've been talking with cybersecurity experts about really the evolution of the security landscape. And my next guest is Ayal Banishti, the CEO and founder at IronScales. Ayal, welcome to Techstrong TV. It's great to have you.
Thanks, Lisa. It's good to be here.
I love the name IronScales. It's such a powerful, bold statement. Talk a little bit about, you said you founded it about 10 years ago. What were some of the gaps in the market at the time from a security perspective that you thought we can solve this?
I think there were two main gaps. I think the first one was that phishing was still making it to the mailboxes. As a security researcher and malware analyst, that was where I was finding all of the great ideas on what to investigate, research. And the second is that teams were spending a lot of time dealing with these type of threats, like, getting them out of the mailboxes, making sure that people are aware. And there was a shift, a big shift in the landscape where threat actors were starting to understand what the defenders are doing, what the SECs are doing, and looking for new, more clever ways to phish businesses and employees.
Phishing has evolved so fast. It used to be clunky, basic email scams that like spelling errors, and it was just obvious it was a phishing scam. But walk me through the evolution of 1.0, 2.0, where are we now, 3.0, deepfakes. It's just evolving at breakneck speed.
Yeah. So when we started, it was really the phishing 1.0 problem, where threat actors was mostly sending bad links and bad attachments and trying to lure employees to click on a link or download an attachment and install some backdoor on their computer. And then it really evolved. Like, with the security email gateways kind of scanning links and scanning attachments and making sure that all the known threats are out of the inbox. The threat actors, they evolved into sending emails with no links and no attachments. And instead of trying to hack your computer, they are hacking the business process. They're trying to make you pay an invoice, which is not real, it's fake.
Okay, pay an invoice.
Or wire some money, or go and buy something, or do something that you're not supposed to do as an employee. And when you think about what companies are using that day in order to protect against emails, they couldn't find this email because there was nothing bad.
They looked so normal.
They looked very normal. It was textual, like the semi-legitimate request to go and do something. And this is where the phishing 2.0 era basically began. And we realized that in order to really protect organizations and people against phishing, you really need to go down from the gateway level to the mailbox level. We have to live and breathe what's happening in everyone's mailbox. Really, really understand it. What communication looks like, what can be trusted, what can't be trusted. Understand language for the first time, using LLMs and NLPs to extract intent out of emails and understand that this people is asking someone to pay something, and really start to understand that this person really sounds like or looks like someone that's working.
Like your CEO asking you to wire money or something. This impersonation of people is scary.
It's always someone or something that you already know.
That you're familiar with.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. This is kind of the basics of phishing and how you kind of gain trust and make sure that people will go and do what you're doing. And that was the phishing 2.0 era. And we started to implement a lot of the smart AI and ML models in order to be able to build baselines and find anomalies and things that are kind of deviating from what we consider to be a trusted communication or a trusted email. It was proven to be super effective against the BECs, the business email compromise, and the vendor account compromise, account takeover attacks, and all of the next-gen type of phishing emails that the SEC was really not doing a great job in kind of keeping out of the gate. The second thing is that, again, we found that in the phishing 1.0 world, security teams were doing a lot of manual work in order to keep the hygiene of their environment and their inboxes, writing and running scripts, doing a lot of signature writing and rules writing, and they really kind of spend a lot of time with their email security solution in order to try and keep it up to date and play this kind of catch-up game with the threat actors. So in phishing 2.0, we've realized and decided that it's time to really go and automate.
I was going to say automation sounds like the winner here.
You have to go and automate a lot of this kind of stuff that they're doing, from the most kind of investigative parts of the security analyst job to the even more kind of response part, which we actually go and claw back emails back from employees' mailboxes. It was a novel idea. Like, it was like how you can actually go and pull back emails that were already. And the answer was yes, you can do it. If you can do it in a very short amount
Already
of time.
opened?
Not open,
Okay.
but delivered.
Delivered.
Yeah.
Got it.
Because we knew it takes about 82 seconds from the time it was delivered to the time it's opened on average. And this
Okay.
82 seconds, it's a lot of time that we can act.
Yes.
Not to mention if we can do it in under 1 second,
Yeah.
which is what we can do in 99% of the cases, then
Right.
the problem goes away. And by doing that, first we reduced risk, and second we reduced in more than 90% the amount of time that the security teams are dealing with phishing emails in order to keep them out of the mailboxes.
The automation is key there because you were saying, with this rapid evolution of phishing, security teams don't have the time. I'm sure that's a full-time job for several FTEs to just monitor a business email account across employees, across the globe and regions. So the automation is critical there, especially because the sophistication of phishing is just going up and up and up. How is AI maybe a double-edged sword there, like leveraging it for to be able to detect these really sophisticated phishing scams, but also the phishers having the technology at their disposal to dial up the sophistication?
It's a great question. So with the introduction of technologies like GPT, for example, we've seen an increase of 1,000% from 2022 to 2023 in AI-generated phishing games.
Phishing scams.
And this
1,000%.
Before the peak. If you look at North America alone, it was close to 2,000%. It was 1,700 something percent, which is a crazy amount of emails. And the other thing is that phishing in 2025 or even in 2024, it's not just about email anymore. Like, phishing and email used to be a synonym. Like, email phishing, it was like almost the same thing. Now we are seeing new modalities kind of being introduced. Voice, deep fake voices.
That's scary because it sounds so legit. Oh, and videos too.
Videos.
Yes.
So they're using more than the email to phish employees. They can use your mobile. They can use your Teams, Slack, Zoom. Wow. And we're seeing kind of real cases.
That attack surface just going like this.
Now you need to kind of be able to look at all the communication channels and make sense out of all of it and detect not just AI-generated stuff in the inbox, but you need to be able to detect.
Techstrong TV. It's getaway day here at RSAC. Lisa Martin here, having had some amazing conversations with cybersecurity leaders across industries the last 4 days. But you know, because you've been tuning in to Techstrong TV and all of our other digital platforms. My next guest is a veteran of Techstrong TV. My first time interviewing her. I'm a huge fan. Caitlin Sarian joins us. She is at Cybersecurity Girl. If you don't follow her, she's got 1.6 million followers across social media. You should be. Caitlin, it's a pleasure to have you on the program.
I'm so happy to be here.
Talk to me a little bit about, you have amassed in a short time period, I said over 1.6 million followers. I'm one of them. TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, X. How did you do that in such a short time period?
I don't know. So I started on TikTok originally, and I really was embarrassed because I've been in cyber for 12 years now, and I'm like, if anyone finds out that I'm on TikTok, I'm going to be destroyed in the office. But I really wanted to reach the next generation. That was like the main reason. I was like, I want people to understand like everyone is needed in cybersecurity, and cybersecurity is not something scary, and they can get in and it can be fun. And we also need more women. I wanted women to see themselves.
Yes.
Because when I was first introduced to cyber, my immediate gut instinct was absolutely no way I'm ever going to be a part of this. Yeah, I was like, I'm not a man.
Yeah.
That's the number one reason I'm not a man. And I was like, I didn't see myself there. Like, I just was like, I'm not a coder. Like, that's not where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that was like the main reasons why I started. And then I started doing more education on just the general public on like what cybersecurity is, and honestly how simple it can be, and how it's not scary. It does not need to be scary, but it needs to be like, the conversation needs to be had at home. And I always say cybersecurity starts at home, and it's not a scary thing. It's a necessity.
It's a total necessity.
And so that's kind of how it started. And I only started on TikTok 4 years ago, and it wasn't until the last 2 years I started doing it on Instagram. And the reason why I was called Cybersecurity Girl is because I didn't want my name on it. So I didn't have my name affiliated with it at all for the first like year and a half, 2 years. So no one I worked with knew that I was doing it on the side. And then it wasn't until I got hired by TikTok, and then I'm like, oh, now I can actually say it, because they found me from my TikTok.
They found you.
Yeah, so it's just been incredible. I mean, it really shows how important cybersecurity is now, and how people really want to know. And the reason why I'm a little bit different is because I like short form. Like, I don't do long form YouTube. I don't even really do X. It's really just been like TikTok and Instagram. And short form for me is so important because people don't have the attention span. And honestly, even if they did, the general public does not want to hear an hour-long conversation about cybersecurity.
No.
So what do they need to know? Like, how is it impacting them, and how can they fix it?
Yes.
So like relatable, digestible, understandable content, and that's what I love to do.
That's exactly what's needed. I'm a marketer by training. I've been doing marketing and tech for 20 years, media for about 10. But people want to be educated in the simplest, cleanest way. And you just hit the nail on the head. Digestible, clean. How does it affect me?
Right.
You know, one thing too that we're dealing with now, as I was mentioning, my mom's almost 80. And she's digital. She's a Facebooker. She's now an Instagrammer. I introduced her to Chat GPT the other day. I know, I was so proud of her.
I'm going to throw my boyfriend under the bus, but he still does not know anything about Chat GPT. I'm like, I don't know if I can be in a relationship with you anymore.
You got to educate him, girl.
I'm trying.
You're trying.
We're working on it.
We've got like 5 or 6 generations in the workforce today that are digitally active, and some of those populations are way more susceptible than others.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from you in the things that you post, because you make it clean, you make it simple, you make me go, oh, I didn't think about that. And so I teach my mom a lot of the things that I learned from you, because I want her to just be, you can't just blindly trust everything anymore.
Right.
We've learned that time and again. Ransomware is a household word. A ransomware attack happens, the stat is from a couple years ago, once every 11 seconds. I'm sure that time is going down now.
Right.
It's only going to continue. But to your point, the education has to be there consistently.
Right. Well, and there's two points I want to hit on that. So the first is, we also always think about our older population of like, oh, they're susceptible. But the issue actually is the younger generation. So the older population gets hit with like larger ransomware issues, like they have the most money. But actually the most people that are getting hacked are the younger generation, because they're so blindly accepting of the technology that they don't think anything of it. They're not like meant to be skeptical of it, because that's what they grew up with. And so it's really, that was why I was like, let's reach the next generation, because all these people, I mean, they're not going to have monetary value because they can't really exploit kids.
Yeah.
There is sextortion, which is a whole nother issue, and it's it's awful, and we're trying to mitigate that too. But a lot of these kids are actually dealing with similar issues as the elderly, but the elderly have way more to lose.
It's the financial hit.
And then the other part is, like, similar to what you said, like cybersecurity is a human issue. Like phishing and like reusing passwords. Like again, the Verizon DBIR report just came out. I went to their session yesterday, and they were saying 60% of all of these threats and vulnerabilities are human-centered issues. So whether you reusing passwords or access management stuff, like or clicking on a link, it's all like human at the end of the day. And so that's like what I'm trying to get at. I'm like, I feel like I'm protecting the companies at this point too, because the learning has to happen at home. Like when was the last time you learned, like what did you learn like last? Obviously you do this, so you learn a lot, but like when you're at home, like how do you learn?
Social media.
Yep. So that thing, like, everyone is losing learning on social media.
Through it with a grain of salt.
Oh yeah,
you have to.
Yep.
And but with deepfakes and the advancement and the sophistication of like phishing, smishing, vishing, it's getting harder and harder to detect.
Yes.
But I like your tagline that cybersecurity starts at home. It has to.
It has to.
It's not a nice to have anymore. This is how it needs to be, like a fabric of our lives.
Yep. And we were just talking, I don't know who it was with, but like someone was like, I know. The founder of the hacking games, that we were talking about how cybersecurity marketing has been it's been terrible. I was going to say a bad word. I'm not going to say a bad word, but it's been terrible. Like we've been marketing cyber all wrong, even like companies, right? Like cybersecurity is not something scary. It's not like we just need to market it to and bring it to the people where they're at. Yeah. And they're like, online, just general human beings. Right. That are like, I mean, we connected on Instagram. It wasn't because I like met you through, some forum. Yeah.
But, so it's starting at home, but also another thing too is just the commonality of it. And we have to expect it's there. Yeah. There's more data, there's more software, there's more apps. That trajectory is just going up and to the right, and it's not going to slow down. Nobody wants less apps or less data slower. They just don't.
We do want less like signing in for accounts.
Yes.
Can we stop that? Like,
I'm a fan of the fingerprint. I'm like, it's me.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah.
But it's just such an interesting.
Loving the Taylor Swift coat, by the way.
I'm a Swiftie.
Yeah.
This is why we kind of have nice things. Yeah. We could throw you another one. But I think that it's so important to educate folks, and it has to be consistent. And when we're here at shows like RSAC, we get to see so much of the technology that enables that fabric.
Yeah.
And now that we're in the AI era,
which
how
I love.
Do we secure? Yes, me too.
Yeah.
There's so much potential, but there's a lot of fear. And so what I like to do is let's pull out, and I think you're similarly minded, let's pull out all the positives that are there. Like we talked a lot this week about how does software company XYZ help customers, whether it's financial services or healthcare or automotive, become proactive against the attackers, because technology is neutral. Good uses, bad uses. It's like fighting fire with fire, but there's never a dull moment. And we need more people like you to educate the different user generations and groups of where the risks are, because they're not going away.
No. And I also love AI. I think it's the coolest thing ever. And like anyone that like doesn't use AI, I'm like very skeptical around.
Me too.
Including my boyfriend. I'm like, But I think there's also a conversation that needs to be had around, like, because people keep saying, like, ethical AI. I'm like, ethical is, like, moral-based. Like, everyone has different definitions of ethical.
Yes.
So I guess it's, like, how do we build AI, and, like what standard, like, baseline standards do we need to have to say this is good versus this is bad? Right? Because we were even talking about that on, like, hackers, right? Like, we're talking about how we're trying to get kids into ethical hacking versus, like, a lot of times kids get, like, pulled into the wrong thing when they're doing hacking. But we're like, okay, at that point, what's ethical hacking? Like, where is the line? Like, can you scam a scammer? Like, is that ethical?
Yeah.
Because you're still scamming.
Right.
But, like, so it's the same with AI. Like, how are we drawing that line of, like, what's right and what's wrong, and what AI should be doing and what AI shouldn't?
And that's so nebulous right now. I was just doing an article, hopefully I get quoted in Forbes by tomorrow, about ChatGPT 4.0 and this Japanese animation studio. Have you seen those Japanese animations that are, like, flooding social media? And so
I have a very, like, narrow lane with social media, because all I see is like tech stuff, and because it's for work. But anyways, I did not see it.
But it's so the whole copyright infringement challenge is there, and it's like, well, AI and ChatGPT, Anthropic, all of them are training their models on all of this information that probably they have without permission.
Right.
But how else do the models learn? So there are fine lines, but I think the challenge is it's so nebulous. There are many fine lines.
Yeah.
So to your point on ethical hacking, where are those lines?
Yeah.
It's not a straight answer.
Right.
But you also talked about people, and I always say, I had this friend out of my other show who created stickers and he used to have stickers on his laptop, and one of them said, humans, ruining everything since forever.
Right.
And I loved it, but in cybersecurity, humans are, I think, two things. The weakest link, but also the biggest potential asset.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And I always used to say, like, you're only as strong as your weakest link with every company. I'm like, I don't care what you do, but if someone's clicking a phishing link, it doesn't matter any of the software anything that you deploy.
Right.
So I always don't understand like why companies don't spend more money on training and awareness. Granted, I think there's a lot of training and awareness companies that need improving.
Agree.
I go to a lot of training and awareness conferences and stuff, and I'm like, can we not do another phishing email? Like, please?
I know.
There's so many other ways to do it, but yeah, I think there's so many opportunities because again, you're only as strong as your weakest link. Why aren't you spending more money on trying to like, again, educate the people where they're at? Like, why do we keep shoving training and awareness into corporate, employees' faces around? Hey, you need to protect corporate. Why do they care?
Yeah.
Why would I care?
Yes.
Who cares? I mean, yeah, you might lose your job, but like, no one. You have to get to them like actually like
the impact
that it matters. Like, okay, how to protect your family, because I guarantee you, once they start learning how to protect themselves, they're going to start learning. They're going to automatically protect the company,
which is good.
Right.
That's the right pathway.
Right. But we're not even teaching them like that.
No.
Because it's a check the box, and then there's like some fun awareness stuff, but it's like, meh. Yeah.
So how do you advise companies to change that, make it more fun, but to your point, go where they are, go to their comfort zone, because people don't want to get comfortably uncomfortable.
Right.
It's hard.
Oh, very.
It's cultural.
Yeah.
It's behavioral.
Well, that's how I always recommend. I'm like, okay, what is your company culture? And if you were them, like, whenever I talk about training and awareness professionals and people like are wanting to get into cyber, I'm like, you should start with training and awareness.
Yeah.
Because you are the prime demographic, people that have no idea what cybersecurity is, and you're trying to get in, and you're trying to understand. But like, understand the culture. Yes. Get someone in that does not care about cyber, does not understand cyber, and start picking their brain and asking them, like, figuring out how you can relate to them.
Yeah.
Because that's where you're going to have to meet them.
Yeah.
And then to just assume that most people fall in the middle, but like you can't like do a check the box training.
You can't. No.
When I worked at TikTok and I was trying to redo their internal training too, like I had to get so much oversight from like legal and like GRC. I'm like, this training is not going to do anything. No. Like, you brought me in to like, spice things up with training and make it more fun and do short form videos. And I'm like, I can't do any of that with like the way that you're redoing my entire like script.
That's kind of anti-TikTok mindset.
It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
I love TikTok though. But
What has surprised you in the last few years of being cybersecurity girl and amassing this following who are learning so much from you? What enlightens you about the direction that career paths are going? What's out there that's good?
I mean, there's so many things that are out there that are good. And honestly, so many cybersecurity people are good. Like, there's so many of us, because we got in, like, we were pulled in from other people, that we want to help and mentor and, like, help other people. What's incredible is, like, how many people are wanting to get in.
That's good.
And I don't want to be a negative, but, like, now we're at this point where I get so many people messaging me being like, hey, I've gotten this certificate, and I can't get an entry-level job anywhere.
Really?
So whatever they're saying about entry-level roles is a load of BS.
Okay, how so?
I think a lot of entry-level roles are actually mid-level roles that are trying to be paid as entry-level. And a lot of companies don't actually want to train the people on site anymore, which is really sad because that's how all of us learned.
Yeah.
I mean, all of us got into cyber. We were brought in by a mentor, trained on site.
Right.
I'm sure, I'm blanket statementing. I'm sure there's a few companies out there but like a lot of the companies that I've seen, they have like mid-level roles classified as entry-level, and they want people with actual like more skills. And there's so many people. Like, I get like at least tens to hundreds of people a day messaging me being like, how do I get in?
Oh.
I don't know what to do. And there's not really a direction yet. So I'm really excited because there's so many people that are interested in.
Yeah, that's good.
Now we have to figure out even like a country or like the world, honestly, how we're going to navigate this, because also the definitions of cybersecurity are different in every company, right? Like, everyone has different teams. Like, some has access management, and they're doing the same thing. They're called something different. So like, I was trying to work with NIST and say, hey, is there a way that we can have like 10 of the same exact entry-level roles, exactly the same, or exactly like equal with what you need? Like, so, okay, hey, we have a SOC analyst that needs these like qualifications. Then we have like a threat intelligence person. So I want the same titles with like clear expectations of what they need to get. And that way, like when people are hiring entry level, at least make the Fortune 100 all do the same when they're hiring.
Yes.
It'd be a lot easier to transition people in.
It would.
And then you can train them then on their company culture. You pick them on your company culture.
Right, the alignment.
Best.
Right. Yeah.
So
that consistency is critical. It's no longer a nice to have. That the awareness has to be consistent.
Right.
I've been, like I said, marketing 20 years in tech. Awareness is key, but it can't be a one and done thing.
Right.
And it has to be tailored to your audience.
Right.
And there are so many different audiences alive and in the digital space today. I went to the restroom earlier and I saw a payphone. I'm like, there's still payphones around here?
Yeah.
I remember having to use a payphone in high school.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
What's like one thing that you would change with either like awareness or marketing in like cyberspace that you like wish it was like already fixed?
I think that it needs to be, to your point, it needs to be explained in a way that this is achievable.
Right. And it's not scary.
It's not scary. It's a massive opportunity. It's only growing. So the opportunities will only grow.
Yeah.
But I think to your point, from an education and awareness perspective, I 100% on the consistency, but it has to be explained clearly.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to get on soapboxes and all these acronyms here and there.
We don't talk about acronyms.
No.
I do not say
snishing,
snishing, quishing.
Yeah.
I don't even say phishing anymore. They're scam messages.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
No one, if you start doing like technical jargon, their eyes glaze over
Yes.
and they're going to be like, I can't even touch that. That's
Yes.
not even something I want to touch.
I've learned that from my radio role where we talk to more consumers. It's how do you take, and you and I were both in the sciences, both in aerospace back in the day.
Right.
And it's about taking complex topics.
Right.
And converting them to digestible sound bites that a non-technical person can understand and go, I get it.
Yeah. Well, I don't feel like I ever was supposed to be in cyber in like a weird way because I never wanted to be, and then I learned everything on the job, and I don't know about you, but I still feel like I never know enough.
Oh.
Yeah, which is the best place to be, by the way.
Yes.
Like I always want to be in a room that everyone knows something and I know nothing.
Yeah.
First of all, but then I also just feel like because of that, I've like had to learn weird ways. Like I don't think I'm like my brain is supposed to operate the way that most cybersecurity brains are, and so I have to learn it in a different way.
Well, it's thought diversity.
Yeah, it is.
Which is so necessary.
Yeah.
You brought up earlier, when you started your influence career, and that you couldn't, there was that saying, we can't be what we can't see. I do a lot of women in tech events, and it's true.
Yeah.
We need to have mentors out there and sponsors
Yeah.
that look like us, that feel like us, that go, okay, I could be accepted here.
Yeah.
And the older you get, the less you care about that stuff, I will tell you.
Yeah.
But
but it's the younger generation that we're trying to get in.
Yes. Yes. But there's so much job opportunity. I mean, like I work with companies all the time that will have like different programs.
Yeah.
Like some like Boomi. I'm emceeing Boomi World in a couple of weeks, and they have a veterans program. So they work really hard with war veterans to get them into into technology.
Right.
And I think there needs to be more light shined on things like that. Like there's a lot of doors and pathways, but to your point, if the employers are making it complicated, that's not going to help that pathway become any easier.
And the other thing is, I don't know about you, I feel like as a woman, because there was like D&I initiatives when I like got in like 12 years ago, I always felt like I didn't know if I was hired for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Even though like, I'm going to toot my own horn. I had an incredible resume. Like I had 3 jobs in school. I had 3 different internships. Like I nailed my interview, but I always had that like weird thing in the pit of my stomach being like, was I only here for because I'm a woman?
Did I check a box?
Did I check a box? And then it really made me like the imposter syndrome actually really like set in a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I actually am kind of happy. Like I want as many women in this field as possible, but I also want the best, most qualified people in the role.
Yes.
And so I want to make sure, I feel like it helps with imposter syndrome too, from a woman perspective. Like don't hire a woman because we're a woman, hire the person for the right role. And we're trying to train the women to be the right woman.
Yes.
Right. So I think there's like a weird.
Well, there's also all these stats, and I'm forgetting the actual specific stats, but like I don't know, 80+% of females, if they see a job on LinkedIn and they don't meet every requirement, they don't apply. Whereas men, I got that.
Yeah.
And now with AI, it's even more challenging because everybody wants people with AI experience. You're using AI to write your copy. How do I stand
I use AI
out?
to write everything.
Oh, I wrote my radio hit for tomorrow morning.
Right.
Grok chat this morning.
Yeah. It's the best.
It is the best. I like it as a creative inspiration. That's how I leverage it.
I have a lot of good stuff going in my mind. Probably you can tell with all
Yes,
the
I can.
conversations that we have. But it really helps me do like a brain dump, and then it helps me reorganize like how I should frame things.
Yes.
So that's what I love about it.
But I think for folks that rely on it, that's a different story.
Yeah.
And I think I was reporting on this recently about like, it's a really high percentage of students between like 17 and 25 who are dependent on things like ChatGPT.
Can you imagine going through school with that as a resource?
My thesis would have been so much easier.
Yeah.
Or
I would be
that's the challenge. Are you not learning enough or retaining it because you can get it spit out back at you in seconds?
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
But it's like I say, technology is inherently neutral. It's used for good and bad.
Right.
Let's find all of the good uses and amplify that everywhere.
For sure.
I feel like a sense of responsibility as a tech executive and now a reporter and media person to help more people understand how not to be afraid of things like AI. I talk about it all the time on the radio.
Yeah.
Why there are risks, and I want to help you be aware of them. But let me tell you all the things that it's already doing that you're interacting with that you don't know.
Well, and I think I was talking to someone else about this. Like, I feel like everyone's like, oh, buzzword AI. But like, we need to move past the point of like AI, because AI, even when AI was a buzzword like 2 years ago, it was already implemented. People just didn't talk about it.
Exactly.
So I'm like, it's already like, I mean, the Netflix recommendations, your Instagram, the face filters, your Instagram recommendation, everything. It was already used as technically AI, depending on your definition. And so it's like, okay, well, how do we move past to like, okay, AI is like everywhere. It's going to take over. Here are all the scary risks to, okay, let's implement this in our day because we're not going to run from this. We can't. It's already here.
Oh, yeah.
So how do we like optimize it the most? I think I made a video about like the 4 things you shouldn't be putting in like AI.
Yes,
LLM.
I saw that. Because
I'm like, we're going to use it. So like, here's just FYI, don't be putting this information.
Little guardrails.
Yeah.
But then there's healthy uses of it, and it's like some of the applications in healthcare are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Detecting skin cancer. I mean, you name it. And the train has left the station.
Right.
When ChatGPT was born, it just catalyzed this movement.
Yeah.
Where every company that I work with, either as a marketer or as a member of the media, we have to have an AI story. Well, what is it? It has to be real.
Yeah.
And then you have to go, okay, here we are at RSA. How do we secure AI? It can be done. It's not easy, but it can be done. We can get proactive against the defenders.
Yep.
We just have to be constantly doing it and learning and evolving.
Yeah.
And the tech is evolving faster than laws and regulations. It's just such an interesting time to be alive and be working.
I know. I'm trying to figure out how to best optimize it, honestly.
Yes.
Like what do I do to like make sure that I'm fully taking advantage of this like massive growth?
Agree.
So fast.
Agree.
Yeah.
It is so fast. What's next for you? We know we follow you on @Cybersecurity Girl. You were just in Montenegro. Was that the NATO Youth Summit?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then you came here, got stuck in Barcelona, but you came here.
In Barcelona, but I came here.
What's next? What can we expect to learn from you next?
I mean, I'm gonna just constantly be throwing out amazing videos, hopefully, and educational videos. And I will tell you, my like future goal is to like have like a kids like Bill and I kind of show, but for like STEM and tech and AI.
Love that.
Because and something I talked about at NATO was like, we have so much responsibility and opportunities with these kids to make AI and cybersecurity not a scary thing, not a necessity, but like fun.
Yes.
And if they're able to be like curious and play with it from the beginning, we are going to see massive growth in that field from when as they get older. And so I'm like really excited about the future of that. But I want to do like a TV show. I'm ultimately just trying to build like continue to build a trustworthy brand, because I do feel like it's my responsibility to be the one person that's like, hey, no clickbait, no BS. Here's what's going on, and here's what you need to do, and like have fun. So,
well, you're democratizing access to all of the generations for cybersecurity. Why it should be part of their fabric, their personal fabric, their professional fabric, and why it's a good thing, and not you're demystifying it, and that's needed.
Yeah, that's what I always say. I always say like I'm demystifying cybersecurity as a whole, like in general.
You are.
Careers, cyber, whatever it is, just. That's where I want to be.
Well, keep doing what you're doing. I learn a ton from you like every day. I appreciate you responding to my DM the other day. I'm like, Caitlin responded. I felt like so cool.
Oh my gosh, I appreciate you messaging me.
Of course. Yeah. And I wanted our audience to be able to learn from you, because this is something that is just the fabric of our daily lives. And we appreciate your insights, your time, and sharing all of your knowledge with us so consistently. Thank you, Caitlin.
Thanks so much for having me.
It was my pleasure. For Caitlin Sarian, I'm Lisa Martin. This wraps up 4 days of coverage at RSAC 2025. Yay! Big hand of applause for our amazing production crew with Techstrong TV. We thank you for watching. You can find all of this content by next week on the socials. And if there's anything that you want to watch again, lucky enough, you can do it. Find us at techstrong.tv. We're at devops.com. Too many brands to mention, but thank you for giving us your time. We hope you've learned from our guests. We'll see you at the next show.